de otra gente, respetando tu...
Pata mtumaini Mungu kama skiza tune, bonyeza *811 *815#.
Mtumaini Mwenyezi Mungu kwa moyo wako wote, wala usitegemee akili zako mwenyewe. Umtambue Mungu katika kila ufanyalo, naye atazinyosha njia zako. Usijione wewe mwenyewe kuwa mwenye hekima. Mche Mwenyezi Mungu na kujiepusha na uovu. Methali 3:5-7.
Kupata mtumaini Mungu kama skiza tune, bonyeza *811 *815#, *811 *815#.
Quiero amarte.
Na hujambo mtazamaji popote pale ulipo, leo hii ikiwa ni siku ya Jumanne, tarehe ni 24 mwezi Agosti mwaka wa 2021. Leo hii mtazamaji, ni siku ambayo shughuli ya kuwatafuta ama kuwasaili wale makamishna ambao waliteuliwa na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta katika tume ya IEBC. Shughuli yenyewe inaendelea katika majengo ya County Hall, na leo hii mwendo wa asubuhi aliyepigwa msasa ni Juliana Cherera mwendo wa asubuhi, na vilevile muda mfupi uliopita Francis Madhenge Wanderi alikuwa amefika mbele ya kamati ya haki na masuala ya kisheria ya bunge na kuelezea tu ni kwa nini anahisi ya kwamba anatosha kujiunga na tume ama kuwa mmoja wale makamishna wa tume ya IEBC. Na bila shaka kumbuke ya kwamba baada ya shughuli yenyewe ya kuwasaili wale makamishna iliyoanza mwezi mmoja uliopita, ambapo kulikuwa na takriban wawaniaji 36, basi Rais Uhuru Kenyatta aliwateua wane ambao ni Juliana Cherera, Francis Madhenge Wanderi, Irene Masit Cherop na Justus Abonyo, na waliosalia kwa sasa hivi kusailiwa ni Irene Masit Cherop na Justus Abonyo. Na bila shaka mtazamaji, ni mazungumzo ambayo tunazidi kuandaa hapa kwenye studio kufahamu ikiwa tume ya IEBC sasa hivi kuna matumaini ya kwamba Wakenya watakuwa wanapata imani na tume hiyo. Na hivyo basi, ili kuendeleza mjadala huo kwenye studio, nazungumza naye Zakaria Baraza ambaye ni mfanyabiashara na vile mwanasiasa. Tutakuwa tunaangazia hayo yote hapa kwenye Tamrini, na kisha tutakuwa tunakupeleka pale County Hall kuzidi kupata shughuli yenyewe inavyoendelea. Karibu sana Zakaria kwenye studio zetu leo hii, na pengine tunapoanza tuzungumze tu kauli yako kuhusiana na mchakato mzima tangu ulipoanza hadi kufikia sasa hivi. Unahisi vipi kuhusiana na mchakato mzima?
Okay, kwa majina mimi naitwa Zakaria Baraza, mimi ni mfanyabiashara Nairobi hapa. Leo hii nafurahia kuwa katika studio ya KBC. Ukiangalia huu mchakato wa makomishana umekuwa ni wa wazi, sababu umekuwa ukifanyika kwa njia ya wazi. Watu wamekuwa na yale mambo ambayo yanaendelea, na hata uliona makomishana wengine walijiondoa, na hiyo pia inamaanisha kuwa tuko na imani katika huu mchakato. Yeah, so mimi naamini kuwa yale yameendelea kufikia wakati huu, watu wako na imani, sababu watu wamekuwa wanaona inaendelea kuwa sio ile ambayo wakati ulikuwa unafanywa kule interview ama wanachaguliwa na watu bila kupitia ile mchakato ya Wakenya. Na pia utapata kuwa watu walipewa nafasi ya kutoa maoni yao kuhusu wale watu ambao wako katika majengo ya bunge, na kama watu walikuwa na tashwishi ama jambo lolote waliweza kuandikia commission na ile panel ya interview wakati huo, na pia kaweza kuangalia mambo yale. So naona ni umeendelea katika njia nzuri.
Naam, kwa sasa hivi inaarifiwa kwamba ile shughuli ya kumsaili Irene Masit Cherop inaendelea. Hivyo basi baraza tutakuwa tunarejea kuendelea na mjadala huu, lakini kwa sasa hivi mtazamaji, ningependa kurejesha pale katika majengo hayo ya County Hall ambapo Irene atakuwa anasailiwa baada ya muda usiokuwa mrefu. Anajiandaa na tutakuwa tunakupeleka pale ili kupata shughuli hiyo, na kisha hapo baadaye tutakuwa tunapata Justus Abonyo ambaye vilevile atakuwa anasailiwa na kamati hiyo ya bunge ya haki ya masuala na kisheria. Kumbuka ya kwamba ni mchakato ambao ulianza muda mrefu uliopita. Mwezi mmoja uliopita takriban wawaniaji 36 wakapigwa msasa na kisha 4 wakateuliwa na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, na hivyo basi tutakuwa tunarejea pale baada ya muda usiokuwa mrefu. Pengine baraza tuzungumze kuhusiana na uwazi ambao umeshuhudiwa kwa sasa hivi, manake tumeshuhudia kwamba shughuli yenyewe kuwasaili hata kuwahoji wale 36 ilipokuwa ikiendelea ilikuwa inafanywa kwa njia ya uwazi, mnaitazama moja kwa moja kupitia kwenye runinga. Hebu tuzungumze kuhusiana na umuhimu wake.
Umuhimu wake, shida kubwa ambayo iko katika commission ya Kenya, sio hii commission pekee yake, ni commission nyingi sana, ni kuwa imani ya Wakenya kuwa nayo na pia imani ya wanasiasa. Sababu utapata kuwa wanasiasa hao ndio huhakikisha kuwa Wakenya wako na imani ama wana imani. Sababu tukiwa na interview kama ina wanasiasa waingize siasa ndani, waseme hatutaki mtu fulani, watu huwa wanapoteza imani. Sababu ukiangalia katika nchi ya Kenya tuko na mirengo. Tuna wale watu wana mirengo wanaamini watu fulani, tuna wale wengine wanaamini wanasiasa fulani. So wanasiasa wakiingiza siasa, lakini kufikia saa hizi tukiangalia hii vile imeendelea, hatujaona siasa ikiingizwa, kwa hiyo kila mtu amenyamaza. So hiyo tunaamini kuwa hiyo ni imani. Na wanasiasa ama Wakenya wakihakikisha kuwa makomishana hawajaingiza siasa, Wakenya wawe na imani, hautakuwa na shida. Lakini shida nyingi sana ni imani. Sababu kuwa wazungu wanasema ni perception. Wakishahakikisha watu wakikosa imani, wakiamini kuwa ule mtu fulani akiwa katika ofisi hatafanya uwazi, hata akifanya uwazi bado watu wanaamini kuwa ile mambo yamefanyika sio ya uwazi. So ile kitu naona kufikia saa hizi ni kuwa commission inajaribu kujirekebisha ikijitayarisha katika uchaguzi wa 2022, na kitu ambayo ya muhimu sana katika hii commission ni imani wa Kenya wawe nayo. Sababu bila imani hawatakuwa na imani katika yale matokeo ambayo yatatokea. So mimi nimefurahia hiyo uwazi ambao umeendelea, na pia commission pia ikae chini iangalie yale mambo ambayo yatafanya yanafanya mambo katika ya uwazi. Sababu hakuna haja mfanye kama saa hizi interview kwa uwazi, lakini mambo mengine baada ya kuingia katika afisi tusikuwe na ile uwazi ile. Hiyo ndio kitu ya muhimu sana katika election yote katika dunia mzima, ni imani. Watu wakiwa na imani ni kama hata ukigonjeka ukienda kwa daktari kama huna imani hawezi pona, lakini ukiwa na imani utapona. So mimi naamini kuwa commissioner inasikiza mambo ya watu, yale mambo wanasema, na hao commissioner pia wanasikiza mambo ambayo ili wakiingia katika afisi wafanye katika njia ya uwazi. Wakifanya katika njia ya uwazi hatutakuwa na mapendeleo yote. Na pia naomba wanasiasa, sababu shida nyingi ni wanasiasa. Sababu ukiangalia katika Kenya tumekaana katika mirengo. Ile mirengo ya wanasiasa fulani na mirengo ya wanasiasa fulani, na mwanasiasa mmoja akisema kuwa hii commission hana imani kwa commission, wale wafuasi wake wote pia hawatakuwa na imani katika ile commission. So pia ningependa wanasiasa waungane, waje pamoja, waone njia gani ambayo wanaweza tumia ili waweze kufanya Wakenya waweze kuwa na imani katika hizo commission. Wakiwa na hiyo hatakuwa na shida yote.
Naam, bila shaka ni swala muhimu ambalo tutakuwa tunazidi kuliangazia, lakini kwa sasa hivi mtazamaji, tuelekee pale County Hall ambapo Irene Masit Cherop amefika mbele ya kamati hiyo inayoongozwa na mbunge wa Kangema Muturi Kigano. Hebu tuelekee pale tusikize anachosema kuhusiana na uwezekano wake kujiunga na ile tume ya IEBC kama commissioner.
Programs Operations Manager. So when we talk of the issues of NGOs, understand their setup, understand their workings, and even the different sectors they engage in. And that is also where I learned corporate governance in detail, and also public administration. Thereafter, Chair, I moved on to Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, deputizing PLO Lumumba. That time we were 4 deputies. I was in charge of civic education. There was somebody in charge of research and drafting, another in finance, and also mobilization and outreach. So my docket was mainly civic education, and we actually developed that time the materials for civic education and publicized the need to have a new constitution that time, and I was there for a record of 4 years. Thereafter I was appointed to the interim Boundaries Review Commission. It was a very short stint, only 1 year, 3 months. but I can say it is a key institutional memory because that's where now I learned the matters of electoral processes. And if you look at my CV before that, I served in Nairobi region as a returning officer in Westlands, the Lacha Westlands constituency, the Lacha Langata constituency, and the deputy returning officer Embakasi Lacha constituency. I was also deputy returning officer. Thereafter chair, I've been also in boards. I've worked under Land Council Management Board of Elgeyo Marakwet for 2 years, and also currently I am with the National CDF as an independent and part-time director. Chair, if you look at all those experiences which I've mentioned, and looking at the duties and functions and responsibilities of IEBC, I can say I fit on well, because in it, I bring electoral management in it, I bring public administration and governance, I bring also matters of finance, because at the CDF board, I've been chairing the Finance, HR and Administration Committee, which at least I've learned some skills. So, Chair, I think that is briefly to do with me. And in total, I have over 21 years experience in both public and non-government work. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, members. Any questions? Yes, Mheshimiwa Samara.
Thank you, Irene, for your presentation. For the advocates on this committee, we look forward, and congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you admitted to the bar. My question is probably more rhetorical. What are your views on the delimitation of boundaries and it's more of a political question now, and how, what is the urgency on, I know that it's the length and the timing of which it should be done is cast in stone, but what are your general views when it comes to the delimitation of boundaries with regards to sources, resources, and allocation of resources and populations?
Chair, I want to respond this way. First, from the legal point of view, the law said if boundaries are to be used if the boundaries are to be applied at the next election, they should have been ready 1 year before that election, and it's done between the period of 8 years and 12 years. So the constituency boundaries might not be fileable, but it talks also of ward boundaries, which are done periodically, and that one, it doesn't give any time frame. So, Chair, this country, if you read the Okware report, it was trying to address first injustices and gerrymandering. As we talk today, we have two issues to do with boundaries. One, we have those which have been protected, and two, we have those which are overpopulated. The constitutions talk about diversity and inclusivity. So what is the way forward? If we cannot do the boundaries, there are things we can do to address these issues. One, we can look at the larger constituencies. We review the wards and give them extra wards for now, because even CDF, when we devolve resources, we devolve equally. And those which are large suffer really because they are Kenyans also. So we need to see how we can bring everybody on board, and also maybe developing CDF, we can put criteria of wards. We give to constituencies, but taking into account the number of wards, so that everybody feels represented and also feels the resources reaches every Kenyan equally. Two, we have this these constituencies, the 27 which are protected, from the time the population was done, we don't know if their numbers have increased or not. They are Kenyans, and it's very difficult to remove something which a Kenyan already has, because most of them are marginalized. The terrain there is not good. So I urge Parliament that should be an issue we need to look at it before elections, so that everybody feels to belong. Because we need to have one indivisible nation. Because if you take away something which somebody also has, it's going to be a problem, Chair. So it's upon Parliament to review some of these election laws. We see issues which doesn't touch fundamentally on the Constitution, which can be done before elections. So I think we have to address those issues, and if possible also, I'd propose something like IPPG. We come together, political parties and key leaders, to look at it together and address those issues. It was done. That time it can still be done. Thank you, Chair.
Any other question? Yes, Kamote. Then Kamote, then Wangwe. Kamote, Wangwe, and then Mheshimiwa Bishimu.
Thank you, Chair. First, I will congratulate you for having come all the way. In Kenya, I think we've even become a benchmark when it comes to election. We've seen some countries coming to our IBC to learn some issues. And I think one of the things that we as Kenyans are proud of is having embraced the fact that votes be counted at the polling stations. We've seen that, in fact, when you go to the constituents tallying, you get very few candidates. It's only those who have already, who are sure of being winners, who attend this, and that's a good thing. However, we've had problems of transmission of the results from polling stations to the national tallying centers or even our constituents. We've had a problem there. We find that the figures sometimes don't change when they are transmitted. So as a commissioner, if this house, if Parliament approves you, how do you intend to tackle this problem of transmission of votes so that we can bring back credibility and have transparency reign in that particular section, because that's where many problems emanate from. How do you intend to tackle that if you come on board? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, allow me first and foremost to congratulate Masit for having been nominated. I vetted her in the board of NGCDF and also worked with her in the same board. So, and also referring to your CV, you are still a member of the NGCDF board. Should Parliament approve this, your appointment, and thereafter be appointed as a commissioner, between the two functions, which one are you likely to drop? Thank you. And the second one, Chair, IBC is likely to, many elections, Madam Masit, face electoral violence before, during and after. What is your take in terms of sustaining transparency in election management process? And finally, Chair, I just want to indulge Masit that IBC keeps a register of voters, but also it's your role to make sure that the nomination process is prudent, is good, and also the disputes come before you, yet you don't have the same register that you refer to. Just make a highlight on what you think should be done on the register of voters. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. You've had a touch in elections through participation as a returning officer and a deputy returning officer. Were you able to pick some areas during elections that require improvement? And now that you're here for vetting, for approval, and subsequent appointment, should you succeed, what are those areas that you feel that you can improve as a commissioner? Finally, there are so many people who usually leave their houses very early in the morning and come back or vote very late. But at the end of the day, their votes do not count because they are declared as spoiled votes. And I've seen in Kenya, in the previous elections, they ran up to and in hundreds of thousands. Those are Kenyans who are usually denied the right to vote. No, they have been given an opportunity, but their votes end up not counting at all, even after toiling that much. What will you take to the commission should you succeed to make sure that that does not happen in the subsequent elections? Thank you.
Okay, answer the question. Are there any other? Yes, Director.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I have two quick ones. First, I'd like to congratulate Madam Irene for making it this far. My first question is, I've seen that you've written a dissertation on employee counseling and stress at work. In view of the fact that IBC is a highly stressful work environment, should you be approved for appointment, do you have any plans of guiding policy on staff mental health and how they can manage pressures to alter election results? And my second question is, I see you contested for a political seat in 2013 to be a woman representative. Did you contest for political seat in 2017? Thank you.
Please answer those.
Can answer this one? Thank you.
Yeah, take those next
Thank you, Chair. I want to start with the question by Mheshimiwa Honorable Makala. You mentioned the issues of transmission of results, and especially from the polling stations, and you talked of how it is normally a problem, actually, the time it takes even to transmit those results. I believe that's the question. If I'm appointed as one of the commissioners, there are issues which needs to be addressed. Especially if you look at polling stations, it's where we have goons, we have violence, we have people congregating, and at times it's very difficult to manage that kind of people. So the only way to do is to be open with information. When people vote, the votes should be counted there at the polling station with transparent ballot papers and announced and placed on the inside the polling station so that the media and everyone can see. Because if you announce and all agents sign those results, all clerks and even presiding and officers who are there, and it's made open, it will be deemed to be free and fair. So that is the things we'll want to do, and also improve on the time taken to do. But that one, it's an issue which should be addressed mainly. IT, which I think Mheshimiwa Assassin, I'll address it when I'll come to that question. But the main thing is to improve efficiency of transmission of these results, and that one only again can be addressed by the gadgets. At times it's very difficult because of the terrain of this country. As much as you want to bring results to Nairobi, it might take time. Some even how to store that information is a key issue. How do you store? Because most of the papers, we are using two systems, digital as well as manual. So we need to streamline those areas. For Honorable Wangwe, you mentioned that I'm currently an officer or a director with NCD, but what happens if I'm nominated? I'll resign as a member of National CDF, because public service or a public servant, you are not supposed to have two government jobs at the same time. It is not allowed by law, and there are those values which are stated in the public service code of conduct, so I'll abide by that. And one is supposed to also have one job at a time. And you talked about also electoral violence. How will handle? There are various codes of conduct. As you see in election laws, there are those codes of conduct for member of a commission and staff. There are those for political parties, and even anybody else. So people have to abide. We have also Leadership and Integrity Act, which guides us, and also even Public Ethics Act. So there are various laws. It's only that to ensure that they are implemented to the letter. Because if they are not implemented, there's no need having them. So there are ways which those issues can be addressed, and we are a law-abiding country. So it's good to stick and go by the law. There is also an issue you mentioned on registers. You said political parties have their own registers, and IPC have their own. Which way? My take is that I would go for IPC registers. Why? Because one, they have the gadgets. When people are registering, the fingerprints are checked, and those are gadgets which political parties don't have. They have processes because that's their main mandate. And also to be sure that even as a political party, you are going to nominate somebody on behalf of your party, it's good to use the same register so that you know this person has been cleared by respective agencies like SEC, CID, because those are most of the things which IPC will check on as people register, and that's why we have even laws. When somebody is found to have committed an offense, they are not eligible to vote. So I would advocate that maybe IPC should share such registers with political parties, and again it's upon Parliament to give that direction. On Mheshimiwa Kithinji, you talked about goons and time taken to vote. First, actually I'll talk of voter education. We need to intensify voter education. If you look at the Constitution, it doesn't provide for civic education, which normally comes before voter. And since it's not there, maybe when you revise laws, we should include voter education, which starts before even election, so that it is even inculcated in school curriculum, so that people can understand the values of this country. They can understand the Constitution. So it used to be it used to be something when we were in school. I don't know, I can't remember the name, but we need to bring it back. And then further education. But mainly, I want to dwell on the issue of IT. IT is very crucial. If IPC was to concentrate majorly on IT, will not have chaos. People will not be congregating in polling stations to see what is happening. People will vote from the comfort of their homes, from their offices, even abroad, without necessarily having to walk all the way to a polling station because of logistical issues. Even most people, even when they reach there, they're old. If you need to get somebody to carry them, it's an issue. Most of their fingerprints, they have been erased. They take time trying to verify them. there's time taken to assist them to vote. So if we went digital, in fact, we'll not be having one chaos, we'll not be having problems to say the results were stolen or what, because everything will be. So IPC needs to invest very, very, very heavily on IT, because the main aim is just to get a credible, fair, secret election. And that's it's actually as simple as that. If we were to follow the law and the things required, most of the issues can be addressed by investing in technology, because even other developed countries, that's what they are doing. And it will also take care of the votes, where people complain at their votes, because every vote should count. And voting technologically, it also saves time. They'll be not saying the results were not transmitted. In fact, the gadgets will be put everywhere, so that when you're in a constituency, when people vote, you can just be seeing as they come. You might not see the person, but you'll see the totals real time. So it will be efficient and effective. Thank you, Chair. I hope... oh yeah, I have one more. From Madam Honorable Senator. She talked about dissertation I did. It was actually a focus on public service. That time I was in public service, and you find there's a lot of stress in public service. And I went ahead also, that's why I did the other course on counseling to back it up. From the onset, I want to say mental health is a disease. Mental health is a disease. So we should look at it from that. You should not bash somebody who has that. Even somebody who is addicted to alcohol, it's a disease. So how do we help our employees to be efficient and to work? We need to put programs in place. We need to have a counseling department in IPC, for example, or somewhere where these employees can be guided and not, because if we don't address, that is what actually impacts on the stress. How your performance, it impacts on the performance of any individual. So that's an issue. I think we should be addressed, and it also even helps in times of you see some commissioners resigning. At times it's not their need, even resignation. By the time somebody resigns from a job, it means that person cannot be able to handle that duty at that particular time. So it is an issue. I believe it needs to be addressed, and it is across the board. It's not only at IPC. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Ask them 2 questions.
Oh, yes, I remember, 2017. Sorry, Chair. I forgot. She asked me, you stood in 2013 for women rep, which I did. And she further went ahead to ask me, did you fight in 2017? I didn't fight, Chair, in 2017. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I read before you step you down. Yes, sir.
First, Madam Irene, I want to appreciate your academic qualifications. You've done very well academically. I want to be so mazana. But anyway, having said that, now, what do you think when you go to IEPC, you will do differently? You have just mentioned here that commissioners have resigned recently. I don't know whether you're associating that with mental health, because you are discussing mental health. You say some of them have resigned. So I don't know whether it's in relation to mental health or anything, but will you resign like them if things become difficult? If you find that things are very tough, like the way they found, will you go away like that? Number one. Secondly, I want to ask you about the recent event that has happened in the country also, about the issue of the the appeal court ruling, which said that the IEPC had no quorum since there were only 3 for the last 2.5 years. What they have done, the work that has happened before you, will you want to consider them illegal or legal? Because the court has pronounced said there was no quorum at that time. Tell me about those 2 issues. Whether you run away and whether you about the Court of Appeal issue.
It is important. Let me buttress what Junet is saying. I also noted that you took the issue of resignation very lightly. Just by the way, as if it's a matter of mental health or depression. Don't you think that is a very drastic step that would put this country into chaos? Put this country into chaos.
Thank you.
In answering Mheshimiwa Junet, I want to incorporate that because I picked it.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. First is to do with the issue Mheshimiwa raised on resignation. Yes. I want to say first, if you are given a duty you cannot handle, especially now we are going to elections, it's only 1 year before elections, and you don't even understand where you are coming from, obviously you'll face a challenge. So the best thing is to immediately undertake capacity building and training, to induct all of us in the roles and what is expected of us. And that's where corporate governance comes in. And the issues of roles, responsibilities, decision making. How do you make your decisions? And also responsibilities. So, and collective responsibility. So those are issues which should be done immediately, so that even as we go to the field, we understand our roles very, very well. Training and capacity building is continuous. You cannot just say, I did in university, I've done well. It's a continuous process. And every time we do our work, we need to be going back to the drawing board and see where we've done well and where we need to improve. And consultation. We have to consult with key government institutions. Though we are supposed to be independent, we are also interdependent. In terms of laws which govern the process, we have to come to Parliament. In terms of finances, we have to be with the executive. In terms even of these other fittings, so we have to regularly consult and bring everybody on board. We cannot say we are preserve of knowledge or that we are going to do things on our own. And finally, on the issue of saying that some work has already been undertaken, which the ruling has done away with. I think that is very clear. We'll just have to seek advisory opinion from the Supreme Court, because we have to know what the law says, and we have that opinion, and it will guide us in our work. But we cannot say this or this. We are not lawyers. We are not experts in that field. That's why I'm saying we need to work closely with other government departments. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Masit, we are talking with a lot of respect for you. This question raised by Mheshimiwa Junet is a very critical. It's critical to you. Yeah. We want specifically if your comment on resignation of a commissioner, impromptu resignation without preparation. You just wake up one morning and say you are resigning, right? Without considering the impact that step is going to have on the country. You want
Chair, I just want to add on what you said, to which before Honorable Shamala comes. You see, you are saying that now you have applied for this job, you were nominated by the vetting panel, now you are in Parliament. In the event Parliament confirms you for the job and you are appointed, are you saying that you have to go and build your capacity again, go for training on how to handle elections and build your capacity? Then that's when you will assess yourself whether you have a capacity to handle the election or not. And if you find out that you don't have the capacity, you will resign. That's how I understood you. Secondly, the court of what we are speaking about, the ruling of the court, is as of today. Seeking an opinion is another day. You can go and appeal the matter if you want, but as of today, what is your opinion on that matter of the Court of Appeal as it stands now?
If I may. I think there's two issues that have to be divided here. There is an issue of where we had 3 commissioners that actually eventually tendered their resignation, and then there was a commissioner that just disappeared, literally, and gave no notice. And what are your opinions on that? When it comes to the issue of the opinion of the ruling of the High Court of the Court of Appeal, has there been any indication that the parties are going to appeal to the Supreme Court? And if they do, is this matter sub judice, and will you be able to comment on it?
Yes.
Dr. Sponja?
Yes.
Yeah, one is on resignation. I think before anyone resigns in any job, there must be reasons behind.
Thank you, Chair. I apologize that I've had to work in and work out. Thank you.
Chair. I think before anyone resigns in any job, there must be reasons behind. There must be reasons behind. I don't think somebody will just wake up today and just say, I'm resigning. There must have been something which happened to lead to that resignation. It could be a threat, it could be an influence, it could be even that issue of stress that somebody, so there are many reasons which I cannot tell because I don't know the individual commissioners what made them to do. I saw like any other Kenyan, but I know there must be reasons. 2, on training. The first day we cannot just go to commission and say we are working. We have to come together as a team. Look at our work. There is election operations plan which has been put in place. There are documents in place. We are not going to vacuum. There are already people in an office. So we have to be updated where they are, and now we can move from there and look at whatever has been put in place, whether that is how we want to move forward. And we can only do that through capacity building so that we are appraised on where they are at this time. As you know, election is not an event.
Mtazamaji, hizo ni picha za moja kwa moja kutoka katika majengo ya County Hall ambapo aliyefika mbele ya kamati hiyo ya bunge kuhusiana na masuala ya haki na sheria ni Irene Masit Cherop ambaye anapigwa sasa kuhusiana na nafasi yake ambaye ya kujiunga na tume ya IEBC kama commissioner. Kumbuka ya kwamba ni baada ya Wane kuteuliwa na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Hapo awali tayari Juliana Cherera alipigwa msasa. Francis Madhenge Wanderi vilevile alifika mbele ya tume hiyo, kamati hiyo kusailiwa, na hapo baadaye tutakuwa naye Justus Abonyo ambaye atakuwa anasailiwa na kukamilisha shughuli yenyewe kwa leo. Lakini kwa sasa hivi mtazamaji, hapa kwenye studio tunatamatisha mjadala wetu ambapo nilikuwa nazungumza naye Baraza kuhusiana na masuala mbalimbali hususan hayo ya IEBC, na pengine Baraza, tunapoangalia jinsi ambavyo Irene Masit amezungumza pale, ameangazia masuala mbalimbali kama vile kuhakikisha kuna ule uwazi wakati wa kusafirisha matokeo kutoka katika kituo cha kupiga kura hadi katika kituo cha kitaifa, na vilevile ametoa pendekezo kuhusiana na kuwepo pengine na teknolojia ya kupiga kura wakati ambapo pengine ifike wakati ambapo tume ya IEBC inatumia teknolojia katika kupiga kura. Pengine tuzungumze kuhusiana na mapendekezo hayo. Unaona ya kwamba itakuwa ndio suluhu kwa matatizo ambayo yanakumba tume ya IEBC na uchaguzi mzima humu nchini?
Ya, ukiangalia IEBC imekumbwa na utata kwa miaka zile zimepita. Hakuna uchaguzi ambao hauna utata. Lakini ukiangalia ile uchaguzi ilisha, tulikuwa na masuala kama kwenda kufungua watu lazima waende kotini waweze kufungua server, ambao IEBC haikuweza kufungua server. Tulikuwa na wale wawaniaji wengine walitaka makaratasi fulani IEBC haingeweza kupeana. So tunatakana IEBC isome kutokana na ile past experience, ili tukiwa na uchaguzi tusirudie yale mambo ambayo yaliweza kutendeka. Iangalie wakati fulani tulikuwa na shida ya server. huu mwaka tutaweza kufanya namna gani ili wakitaka server sio lazima mtu aende mahakamani, lazima tuweze. Wakitaka makaratasi fulani sio lazima mtu aende mahakamani, lazima tuweze kupeana. Hiyo ndio tatizo kubwa sana kwa IBC. Na pia nataka IBC pia iangalie mambo ya, tuko na hii myth ambao watu wanaamini kuwa kura zikipigwa, kura za dharakanithi hizo ndizo kuwa zinaamua nani atakuwa rais wa Kenya. So inatakana mwaka huu ama mwaka ujao tukiwa na uchaguzi, kura za dharakanithi ziwe za kwanza kuhesabiwa ili zitoe ile katika yale fikira za watu, sababu pengine kura za dharakanithi ni ziko sawa, hazina tatizo lolote, lakini watu wanaamini kwa hizo ndio huwa zinaamua nani atakuwa rais wa Kenya, nani atakuwa ni wa Kenya. So hizo ndio vitu kama IBC ndakana iangalie na pia ihakikishe imerekebisha. Ukiangalia upande wa teknoloji hiyo ndio imesaidia mahali mengi sana, na IBC nasema iko na teknoloji, lakini utapata kwa mtu ameenda amepiga kura yake, ashamaliza, ishahesabiwa katika county fulani, for example county ya Mombasa ama county ya Kakamega watu, lakini ile teknolojia ushatuma matokeo Nairobi, lakini utapata kuwa tuko na teknolojia lakini inachukua siku 2 siku 3 yale matokeo kutokea, ama siku ngapi, inafanya tunakuwa na tension nyingi. So na ningeomba kuwa IBC invest more kwa technology ili hakikishe tukiwa na election yale matokeo kwa sababu ya technology yanaweza kutokea kwa haraka iwezekanavyo. Sababu saa hizi utapata kuwa watu wako na simu, wako na mambo fulani, watakuwa washajua yale mambo. Lakini unapata IBC inachukua muda mrefu sana. Wanajiuliza kwa nini wanachukua muda mrefu? Pia ile uwazi uwe, matokeo yanafanywa katika ile station, ikubalie watu wachukue yale matokeo. Tukiwa na huo uwazi hatutakuwa na ile shida ambayo imekuwa ikikumba IBC. Kitu kingine pia ni pia wachezaji, sababu IBC ni kama referee, na referee lazima pia wachezaji wawe na discipline, sababu referee wale wachezaji ni wale wanasiasa, kama hawana discipline tunaweza kuwa kama referee akisema, akipiga kipenge akisema nimekupea red card na mchezaji anakataa kutoka nje ya uwanja. So ni kama IBC ikiwa inafanya uchaguzi na tuna masuala fulani lazima yaweze kufuatiwa, tuna sheria fulani ambazo lazima ziweze kufuatiwa, na ukiona wanasiasa wasipofuata hizo sheria, hata ukileta referee kutoka wapi, bado utakuwa na ile shida ambayo huwa inakuwa. So ningeomba kuwa wanasiasa ambao wale ni wachezaji pia hakikisha kuwa wanafuata yale masharti yamewekwa na pia wanakuwa na nidhamu.
Shukran. Naam, shukran. Muda umetupa kisogo, lakini ni mazungumzo ambayo mtazamaji tumekuwa tukiandaa kuhusiana na tume ya IEBC, ile shughuli ya kuwasaili makamishna. Wamefika wale makamishna watarajiwa ambao wamefika mbele ya tume ya bunge la kitaifa kuhusiana na haki na masuala ya kisheria. Bila shaka shughuli yenyewe itakuwa inaendelea na tutakuwa tunakuletea moja kwa moja hapa kwenye KBC Channel 1, lakini kwa sasa hivi utaniruhusu niondoke kwenye studio ili nimpishe mwenzangu Jackie Wambiru ambaye atakuwa anakuletea taarifa zaidi kwa lugha ya Kimombo mwendo wa saa 7 kamili. Naitwa Nancy Okware, na mfasiri kwa upande wa ishara ni Lensa Odingo. Kwa heri, tukutane tena hapo kesho majaliwa.
I used to give my support to Madame Lucrecia because she's the mother of Lucio. Now I know that Lucio is very lucky to have you.
But hey, at least all your land is mine now. Let's talk to my lawyer and finish this.
No, not so fast. You're going to have to get Max out of jail.